Do you think Larson ends up being the regular season champ?
Um, he would be my pick to win the regular season. Yes.
Following is a production of
The Garage Area.
All right, welcome into the garage area. We are here before the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro, and we just wanted to add a little bit of a bonus drop this week. Reason being, this is the second All-Star race, I think that's right, anniversary since we started this podcast. And so I figured I just wanted to do a little bit something extra. We're all also almost halfway through the regular season. Fox's last race is this weekend at North Wilkesboro, the All-Star race itself. And then we move on to the Amazon Prime schedule before we go to TNT and then eventually NBC to carry us on through the rest of the year. So just kind of wanted to do um, an all-star preview show, but also just kind of a mid-season update, a State of the Union, if you would, a little bit. So we have some interesting things planned out for this particular show, and I think that we might as well just start right off the bat with our picks for this race on Sunday night for the All-Star race. I'm gonna go ahead and take Joey Logano. Who do you got, Ryan?
I'm going with Christopher Bell.
Christopher Bell. Why are you taking Christopher Bell?
Well, he's been a good short track racer. He's been fast. I mean, one of the fastest drivers this year. Depending on how this race goes, I just kind of threw up a driver that I thought if he could start up front could win this race, and that's kind of how I see it. So.
Yeah, I think that well, talk to me a little bit about what you're thinking for the Cup Series race or the Truck Series race we can get into here in a minute. But for the Cup Series race, I think that personally it's going to be similar to how it was last year, to where track position is just going to be so crucial. I think from what we've seen in this car and for what the short track package is, whoever starts out front is probably going to lead a lot of laps, and your passes are probably going to be made on pit road. What do you think?
That's where I stand. I mean, even though they're doing the softer tire this year, maybe we didn't get the long run on them last year that we hoped for, and they did make this race longer. But I think if everybody has the same tire, they're all going to fight the same issues at the same time. I think it's just going to be a hard to pass race.
How much longer did they make the race?
50 laps from
Okay.
200 to 250.
So not a ton longer, but somewhat. What about the truck race? Do you think that there's going to be anything special about that? Do you think you're going to see more passing in the truck race?
Um, I remember last year, I only caught a bit of it, but the truck race made me excited for the cup race, the way they raced. I think last year was the first year on the new pavement, and it looked like they had, the banking. It's kind of like a progressive banking. The higher lines have a little more banking than the lower lines in the corners, and it looked like they had like good side by side racing, able to pass and maybe do a little bit of a slide job here and there. And I think the truck race made me excited for the cup race, thinking, oh, this track's going to be good side by side racing, and it didn't really quite pan out. So I really think this truck race is probably going to be the better race of the weekend.
That's unfortunate that that might be the case, but I would happen to agree with you there. I think that the trucks are just as weird as it is to say, I think they're better set up for a short track race than the cup cars. And that's unfortunate, but that's just the state that we're in right now. And that's just kind of part of calling out what the State of the Union is. Um, what is the format for the race itself? Do you know?
Well, it's pretty much a 250 lap race, a competition caution at around the 100 lap mark, and then so the second segment's 150 laps with the option of a promoter's caution, and the promoter's caution must come out by lap 220. So I assume there's green flag laps don't count. I don't think they have the last couple of years, or I'm sorry, caution laps don't count. But
I was gonna
uh,
say, yeah,
yeah, that would they'd be there forever.
might make for a long race.
But they so it'll probably end up being a 30 lap stint to the end if the caution doesn't come out after lap 200. So if there's a natural caution between 200 and 220, then after that caution will be the stint to the finish, however it may pan out. But if there's no caution between 200 and 220, the promoter's caution will probably come out and re-rack the race, and we'll have like a 30 lap shootout is what I'm expecting.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I don't think that anybody can really put a good prediction on the race itself to know what we're going to expect, but I think that's actually probably a pretty good perspective that it's going to be difficult to pass, that we have seen nothing to argue with that so far this season. Speaking of this season, let's kind of talk about the picks that we've made so far and where they finished and where that's kind of panned out in the points that we're keeping track. So, as a refresher course for anybody that isn't aware, Ryan and I we're picking a driver that we think will win each race. You can only pick a driver 3 times a year unless you pick them on the week that they win the race. Then that doesn't count against your total. So if I pick William Byron 3 weeks in a row and he doesn't win any of those weeks, I can't pick him again until the playoffs. If I pick him 3 weeks in a row and he wins all 3 weeks, well, I still got all 3 picks on the board, if that makes sense. So, um, do you have the sheet pulled up, Ryan?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm looking at it too here. So I kind of want to run through who we picked each week so far and where they finished. So for the Daytona 500, I picked Todd Gilliland. He finished 27th. Who did you have?
I had Bubba Wallace, and I was right behind you, 29th.
For the Atlanta race, I picked Kyle Busch, and he finished seventh.
I had Ryan Blaney at fourth. So
Well, I do want to point out too that for the Daytona 500, William Byron won the race, and then Atlanta, Christopher Bell won the race. Then we went to Coda, and Christopher Bell won again. I had Tyler Reddick, who finished third, and
I
you
had
had,
I had
sorry.
SVG in sixth.
And then in Phoenix, or I'm sorry, yeah, in Phoenix, Christopher Bell won again. I picked Joey Logano. He finished 13th.
I picked Christopher Bell, who won the race.
So you had your first win of the season there.
Yep.
Um, Las Vegas, Josh Berry won the race. I picked Joey Logano. He finished 15th.
I had Kyle Larson at ninth.
Uh, Homestead, Kyle Larson won the race. I had Tyler Reddick. He finished eighth.
And then I had Kyle Larson, who won the race.
So there was your second one of the year. Martinsville, Denny Hamlin won the race. I picked William Byron. He finished 22nd that day.
I picked Bubba Wallace, and he finished third.
So you were really killing me at that point. You had 2 wins and a third place finish. Um, Darlington, Denny Hamlin won the race. I picked Ryan Preece, who I will point out ran well, but finished 26th.
And then I picked Denny Hamlin, who stole one late on the late caution and pit road sequence. So that was my
So
third win of the year.
yeah, there's 3 wins for you. So 3 wins to my none. You're really just kicking my butt on that so far. Then we go to Bristol. Kyle Larson wins the race. I had Kyle Larson.
And I had Denny Hamlin, who finished second.
So I didn't make up a ton of ground on you, even though I won my first race of the year. Talladega, Austin Cindric won the race. I picked William Byron. He finished third. Good finish there.
And my real big downfall is Ryan Blaney, who got wrecked out, finished
That's a bummer.
37th.
At Texas, I picked Joey Logano did win the race. I picked Bubba Wallace, who finished 33rd. That was pretty bad.
I picked Tyler Reddick, who finished 21st, which is not very good either, but better than you.
That's fair. And then this week at Kansas, Kyle Larson won the race. I picked Kyle Larson.
I had Ryan Blaney, and he finished third. And
So, all right, sorry, go ahead.
I didn't have nothing to say there. But
Oh, yeah. So I got 2 wins. You got 3 wins. Um, Outside of that, my finishes don't look great. I had William Byron at Talladega with a third, Tyler Reddick at Homestead with an eighth, Tyler Reddick at Coda with a third, and Kyle Busch at Atlanta with a seventh. And those are my only single-digit points or yeah results at any other racetrack.
yeah, your average
And
finish is 13.25. Mine
oh, you have
is,
that stat.
yeah, and mine is 9.75.
Wow,
So I'm still under 10 for average
that's
finish.
that is impressive. Um, Yeah, you're very good at making picks. I think that you should be on FanDuel or DraftKings or something like that, and they should be allowing you to decide who's going to win the race each and every week. That whole reason that I picked Joey Logano with the All-Star race is because I think that I mean, obviously he won this race last year. He is hard to pass in general, and I just want to see my favorite driver win, and this race doesn't count against us, so I'm happy about that. But you actually made an educated pick in Christopher Bell, so yes, I appreciate your dedication even in the All-Star race.
I don't know how educated it was. I kind of only picked it up in a couple minutes. I could probably do more research and figure out something better, but under the quick time period, that's what I came up with. So,
So where's that leave us in points for the year? I know we update it every week, but let's just tell the people where we're
so
at.
I have 472 and you have 382, which is a difference of 90 points, which is just about a race and a half. So,
Yeah, that's a ton of points for me to be back. In just those few different uh, average finishing positions on the racetrack, you have a ton more points out of those positions. I'm assuming that I doubt that the stats compiled, but I would say that stage points play a pretty key role in that.
yeah. I Interesting fact about last week, Kyle Larson had the first max weekend with the new Xfinity fastest lap because he won both stages, won the race, and had the Xfinity fastest lap. So you got the full 61 last week versus a normal 60. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So
Yeah, that's awesome. That's what I'm looking for right there, buddy. Uh, well, let's talk about our ratings of the race as well. We rate the race each and every week, how we thought it did on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being a phenomenal race and 1 being terrible. Uh, the I'm looking at my pick, and I'll let you explain yours here in a second. My Looks like my best rating of the year was Atlanta at a 9 out of 10. Um, I would still agree that that was a pretty good race. I don't regret making that selection. I have a few other eights on the list, including an 8.5. Daytona I had an 8. Coda I had it an 8. An 8.5 at Homestead, and that looks like the last one that was rated that high. My lowest rated race of the year was Bristol at a 2. Um, that race did stink pretty bad, and I stand by that statement entirely. What does yours look like this year?
my top rated race was Coda. I thought that race came down great, great tire, different tire strategies and whatnot. The top four cars were all fighting almost under a blanket, and it didn't seem like it was just like follow the leader. Each one made moves here and there. So I thought that was a pretty great race. Obviously, I had with Atlanta was a good race. Um, I think Homestead I have an 8. Those were probably my 3 best races. My worst was Talladega, and just kind of the false side by side racing it provided when everyone's running half to 3/4 of a throttle around the track. I mean, I almost feel like I could have drove like that around there, and then everyone just double filed at the end of the race. Nobody could pop out without losing position. So that was my worst race of the year. So that's about all there is for that one. So
I'm looking at our side by side comparison. I'm glad that these columns are right next to each other. Um, and it looks like there's a couple races where we had some pretty different opinions on whether it was a good race or not. It looks like actually back-to-back weeks, Martinsville and Darlington. Martinsville, I gave it a 7 and you gave it a 5. I know that those aren't terribly far apart, but there's a little bit of space there. And then at Darlington, I gave it a 4 and you gave it a 7.5. Do you recall any of our reasoning on that? I'd have to go back and listen to know for sure.
yeah, that's yeah, I'd really have to go back because about the only thing I'm remembering from Darlington at this point was the Denny Hamlin taking off. I think it had to do with being the leader and having how much of an advantage that was. Because
Yeah,
once William Byron got back in traffic, he couldn't pass. But
I think you're right. Yeah.
but I don't know why I put a 7.5. Maybe I put the wrong number down because maybe I'm biased because of the way Denny Hamlin won that race. I don't remember, but
Well,
I
that's
feel
kind of
like
my guess, is that you're
yeah,
that kind of person that if your driver wins, you're going to think it's a better race than it was.
yeah. I'd have to go back and rewatch the race or the podcast to see what I said. But
Um, let's talk about well, I want to talk about the point standings, but I just kind of want to play a little game here. You don't by chance have the results of each race this season pulled up, do you?
No.
Okay, so that's good. I'm gonna go through these races, and actually we already did this, explained who won. So maybe this is a waste of time, but I'm curious to know if you can name, even though we already reviewed this just a second ago, we'll go through it quickly. I'm gonna name the race. You tell me who won it. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, the Clash,
Well, that was Chase Elliott.
the Daytona 500,
That was William Byron.
the Atlanta race,
Um, we just had it up here. That was oh yeah, Christopher Bell.
Coda,
Oh, Bell.
Phoenix.
Bell.
Yeah, you already had the three in a row planned out.
Yeah.
Vegas,
That was Josh Berry.
Homestead,
Kyle Larson.
Martinsville,
That was Hamlin.
Darlington,
Hamlin.
Bristol,
That was Larson.
Talladega.
That was Cindric.
Yeah, Texas.
Oh, I forgot that one. Oh, Logano. That's why I
And
forgot it.
yeah, I was gonna say, and Kansas.
Yeah, that was Larson.
All right, so you did pretty well at that. Let's talk about the actual point standings, where guys are, um, and then just who do you think? Obviously, they've all earned their spot to be in this position in the point standings, but who do you think is like falsely seating themselves in a position there to be competitive? Maybe they're a little higher ranked than they should be. And who do you think is further down the list than they ought to be? Kind of glancing at this, obviously Kyle Larson, he's the points leader, followed by William Byron, Christopher Bell, Chase Elliott, and Ryan Blaney. I'll tell you what, um, I think that all of those guys. I'm not surprised. This is the first time this season that I've literally like looked at the point standings and truly studied it a little bit. I'm surprised that Chase Elliott is in fourth place just by how he's been running every week. Um, but the rest of these guys, I very much anticipated them being in the top five. Let's just kind of break it down in groups of five. What did you think in the top five? Did anybody surprise you there?
Um, I mean, I kind of agree with you as a Chase Elliott fan, even that it doesn't feel like he's a top five driver in points. Um, although when I looked up our average finishes earlier, he was in the, I think he was fourth in average finishes. So, I mean, that kind of works out, but it just didn't feel like he was up there getting the stage points that others were. But I
Yeah.
remember seeing a stat that he was in the top five of getting stage points. So it has just been the most quietly consistent driver out there. So that'd be the only, another thing I could say, I'm surprised as much trouble as Ryan Blaney has had this year that he's even in the top five. So it's kind of like opposite ends of between Chase and Ryan, how their seasons have gone. So it
Yeah.
almost seems like Chase is running bad, or I don't know, and maybe I'm wrong on opposites, but it just feels like it's a surprise that they're both up there considering how quiet they've really been. Not that Ryan Blaney's been quiet, but Chase has been quiet, and Ryan Blaney has been blowing engines. So
Yeah. The next group of five is Tyler Reddick in sixth, Denny Hamlin seventh, Alex Bowman eighth, Joey Logano ninth, Bubba Wallace 10th. I'd say that the only one that surprises me there is actually Denny Hamlin being as low as seventh. I would have assumed he was higher in the points based on how he is running, but it's true he's not gotten very good finishes at some of these races. It's kind of like the same situation that Blaney's in.
yeah, I could agree with that. That's about the only thing I'd have to say because everyone else there looks like they should be there. Reddick, I don't think has ran as well as I would have thought he would have this year. Um, other than I think Coda, he had a top five finish,
Yeah, I finished third.
third, yeah, and other than that, he's been pretty quietly up there. So, but yeah, I could agree with Denny Hamlin's sentiment that he should be a little bit higher than that.
I actually think that now that you've kind of spoken that out loud, I guess I'm not surprised to see Tyler Reddick's name in sixth, but at the same point, I think that Bubba Wallace has been the better 2311 car week in and week out, and I almost feel like they should be swapped.
Yeah, going
but
back to Denny Hamlin, it says here he lost 4 positions in point standings because of that transmission issue at Kansas. So
mm,
that's probably why he's down there at seventh. So
yeah,
that
there's
kind of that one bad weekend really hurt him pretty good there. So
going with the next five: Ross Chastain, Chase Briscoe, Austin Cindric, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Um, Chastain, he's been pretty quiet. I guess I'm a little bit surprised he's that high. Briscoe seems like he runs well at times and then falls out of these races. Cindric, I'm he had the points penalty, right? After Coda?
he did, yeah.
Yeah. So he's actually run really well. If he had not had the penalty, I would have been expecting him to be higher. But obviously that points penalty is going to drop him down there that far. Uh, so I guess ultimately not surprised that he's in that spot. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., I'm surprised that he's as high as he is in points. Uh, feel like I haven't really heard anything from him this year.
Yeah, they talked about him on I think DBC where he was at points, and I had to go look to make sure. And yeah, I was he's been running evidently pretty consistent for what that team is capable of, I should say. Chase Elliott is getting his consistent finishes up further. We talk about him being quiet, and Ricky's probably getting those 15th to 20th is 20th or whatever. I can't talk.
20th place
15th to
finishes.
20th place and stuff, and just stacking up points that way. He's in the chase at this point, so or
Yeah.
playoffs they call it now, whatever.
Yeah, I was going to say you can't misspeak like that. Then we get to I guess I didn't name him in that last group of five. That's Ryan Preece is in 15th in points. He's somebody that I'm actually a little surprised he's that far down based on how he's run. He just hasn't finished well, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like one week he's up front and the next week he's in the back. So it's just
Yeah.
kind of back and forth with him. So
Then you kind of get to the last spot into the playoffs in 16th, Josh Berry. Surprised he's that low because of how well he's run. Kyle Busch in 17th, John Hunter Nemechek in 18th, Carson Hocevar in 19th, and Michael McDowell in 20th. I'm surprised Hocevar and McDowell are that close because I feel like they both start up front really well, but I feel like Hocevar runs up front more consistently and gets better finishes. John Hunter Nemechek, I'm surprised, is that high. And Kyle Busch in 17th, right around the playoff cutoff line, is actually as good, if not maybe a little better than I expected him to be, just based on how he's running.
yeah, I can agree with all of that. John Hunter Nemechek, last few weeks with Legacy Motorsports, I feel like they've been running more up front. I know last week I think John Hunter Nemechek got a top 10 at Kansas, which kind of I think propelled him here up to 18th spot. But there has been some glimpses of performance out of that team. Hocevar, yeah, I thought he would be a little bit higher now that I think about it because he definitely runs up front far more than I think any of the other Spire cars. Although Michael McDowell does, I mean, McDowell and Hocevar are the most consistent out of that group. So um, it's not too surprising that they're together, but maybe definitely thought Carson would be a couple up higher.
Yeah. I'm not going to go through the rest of these in groups of five. I'm just going to point out some guys that surprised me. Um, I am surprised that Chris Buescher's this far down here. I'm surprised that AJ Allmendinger's in 25th because he seems like he runs just on the fringe of the top 10 every week, and it seems like 25th in points is pretty low for that. Ty Gibbs, he's had some struggles, but he's getting the speed back. I'm not super concerned about him, other than I think that he might be getting in a spot where he's going to have to win a race to make the playoffs. Suarez, I'm not surprised is down here because Trackhouse as a whole has not been great. Eric Jones, kind of same deal. Noah Gregson has just had a ton of bad luck. Same thing with Brad Keselowski. Um, Riley Herbst, I didn't even know he was in the Cup Series, to be honest with you. Um, and then you kind of read through the rest of these people, and they're people that didn't compete full time. So really, like Cody Ware's in the basement for full time guys. He is full time, right? Like Rick Ware's showing up to the racetrack every week with that car, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he's in the basement where you would expect him to be. SVG and 35th. not super surprised there either. It's been a struggle for him um, on ovals, and just the Trackhouse as a whole is not doing great. And Cole Custer being down there as well. None of that surprises me. Any of those people that you think kind of stand out that they're this far down?
Well, first I want to go back to the Chris Busher. He had a 60-point penalty this past weekend. I don't know if you heard that or saw that. So you had
No,
60
I
points.
actually missed that.
Oh yeah, he got they took the 17 car to the R&D center after Kansas, and they had their bumpers too braced up or something. They're allowed 2 inches of bracing, and they had, I don't know, I didn't say how much over or what they did to the bracing, but they gave them a L1 penalty, 60 points. So you give them 60 points, and that puts them up to let's see, it'll be 284. So um, that puts him at the 12th place point. Um, so he would be 12th in points had it not been for that penalty.
Okay, I guess that makes a little more sense. I had missed that somehow this week.
Yeah.
Um, huh. We should have done a penalty report on that.
um, Brad Keselowski's a big one that stands out down here.
But I guess
30th.
I agree with you, but it doesn't surprise me that he's that far down there, though.
I guess it surprised me that his performance this year is as bad as it has been.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where I mean, where he's at in points, but the way he has performed is obviously correct, I guess you would say. But the fact that he's ran that bad this year, I think it's been surprising. And when he did run good, he blew a tire and put it in the wall. So,
Yeah, exactly. And just the bad luck seems to be what follows him around.
and at the beginning of the year, I thought we saw some flashes from Daniel Suarez. We talked about him being possibly on the hot seat, and definitely the first 5 or 6 races of the year, he was running top 10 all the time, and then he just like fell off a cliff. So it'd be interesting to see how the rest of his year goes.
Yeah. You think they send SVG back to Xfinity after this year?
And I don't. I guess it depends on how he performs at the rest of the road courses. I mean, Garrett, if he can win, I don't know if there's still 2 road courses in the chase this year or not. I don't know. There's still 7 total, but
I was thinking there was 6, but I could be
okay.
wrong.
Anyways, there's 3 or 4 more left in the regular season. And at most 2 in the playoffs. If he can pop off a win, put that car in the playoffs, that's just money for the team. So, um, I just have to see how the rest of the year plays off, how Suarez performs. Um, it depends on how ready they think Connor Zilic is, because he's pretty much the next one in line for that ride. It's weird seeing him in a junior motorsports car and Trackhouse keep promoting him on their on Xfinity weekends and stuff. They keep updates with Zillage, even though he's driving a JRM car. But
Mhm.
and so I mean, Zillage has been really good in the Xfinity series, but there's still some rookie pains you can see here and there, finishing off a few races when he has speed. He has speed every weekend, but finishing off some races has been difficult for him. But he ran that road course race at Coda, and he was headed top 15 to top 10 when he got taken out by Suarez. So um, it'll be interesting to see, because if you really think about it, as good as Zillage looked at Coda, he might be just as good on road courses as SVG in this car. So it could be, and obviously Daniel Suarez is going to outperform SVG on the oval. So it may be an upgrade to move SVG back and bring Zillage up even. So
Yeah.
I guess that's a determining factor whether Zillage is ready or not. If they don't think Zillage is ready, there'll probably be another year of status quo for that team.
Yeah. True. Um, I want to power rank the teams as a whole. How many teams did you come up with on your list?
I think it's 15.
Yeah, that's what I got too. Who do you got? Let's start from the bottom and work our way to the top of the list. Uh, who is your 15th place ranked team?
Rick Ware.
Okay. My 15th place team is Haas. I think that the Haas factory team is non-existent.
I got them at 14. So
Yeah, they're pretty close to each other. I guess my issue is with Haas, I think that Cole Custer's a way better driver than Cody Ware. So like why are they not running better than they I don't know. I don't know how to explain that. I just feel like they shouldn't be as big a backmarker team as they are with a driver like Cole Custer.
I guess I can see your point there. Yeah.
And then yes, I have Rick Ware in 14th. You just said you had Haas. 13th, I have Hayek Racing for Stenhouse's team.
Um, I have Legacy.
You have Legacy that far down. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I have Legacy in 11th just because of what John Hunter Nemechek has been doing.
I kind of swapped the two. I have Arrow swapping Hayek and Legacy. So, I mean, I just kind of how Ricky has performed for Hayek this year and where they're at in the standings. I was impressed by that. So,
Honestly, I would probably almost put Hayek up to 12th spot and bump Colleague down to 13th.
yeah, we both did this kind of quickly too. So it was
Yeah.
because I got Colleague at 11th.
Okay. So basically, read 11 through 15 then. Who you got starting at
Uh,
11?
Colleague, Legacy, or sorry, Colleague, Hayek, Legacy, Haas, Rick Ware.
Okay. And I've got Legacy, Colleague, Hayek, Rick Ware, and Haas. And I think that all those are pretty close to each other.
Yeah, I think we were talking earlier before this week. Kind of put it like we made it like the top teams, the middle running drivers, and like the bottom teams, or whatever. We kind of similar on the bottom teams. If we
Yeah.
like put it into three categories.
Who do you got at number 10?
RCR.
Oh, I got Trackhouse at 10. Who do you got at 9?
Um, that's where I got Trackhouse.
Okay. I've got Front Row right there.
All right, and I have them at eighth.
At 8th, I've got RCR because I think Kyle Busch is running decent at times.
Did I say RCR?
You
I
said
got
RCR
Arrow.
at 10.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. And then front row. Yeah, I got arrows around on my paper. So I think I have front row. We're at seven, right?
Yeah, that's the next thing. Yeah, 7.
Yeah, all right, yeah.
At 7, I've got RFK.
I got yeah. What I just said front row at seven, right?
Yeah. Can you read your list or not?
Yeah, I kind of swapped a couple of these in my head, but I think I missed RFK here because I got them at eighth, but I think I wanted to put them above Trackhouse. So, but I got RFK at eight, and then front row at seven.
Okay.
All right, and then the top six I can see right.
Okay. Who do you got at number 6?
Spire,
So do I. So I think that's the first one we agree on in where they're ranked.
yeah,
Okay. So I'm guessing our top 5 are going to be pretty similar.
yeah.
Um, so let's starting at the top. Who's your number 1?
HMS,
Yeah, same here. I've got Hendrick being number 1. Number 2,
Joe Gibbs,
I got Penske at number 2. I think that both Blaney and Logano are running well. And I think that you almost have to have the Wood brothers connected to that, but they don't have to be right together. So who's your number 3?
Penske,
Okay, I've got Gibbs at 3.
and then I have Wood Brothers at four.
Yeah, so do I. And then your number 5?
2311.
Yeah, that was the only last one to get in there. And I think that's largely, like I said before, I'm surprised at how well or how high Tyler Reddick is in the point standings, because I think that Bubba Wallace has really been running the best of those two cars. So to run it through again, 1 through 15, I've got Hendrick, Penske, Gibbs, Wood Brothers, 2311, Spire, RFK, RCR, Front Row, Trackhouse, Legacy, Colleague, Hayek, Rick Ware, and Haas. What's yours?
All right, I got HMS, Joe Gibbs, Penske, Wood Brothers, 2311 Spire, Front Row, RFK, Trackhouse, RCR, Colleague, Hayek, Legacy, Haas, Rick Ware.
I don't have too many disagreements there. I just think that you have RCR too low. That's my
Okay.
only gripe with your list. I think that they're too far down the list. But yeah, I agree that we're on the same page with a lot of these guys. Okay, there's two more things that I want to talk about. One thing is the notable point scorers for the year. And Ryan, you compiled the stats. I'm going to ask the questions. You give me the answers. Who has the most race wins so far this year?
Well, Larson and Bell have three each, so
Do you anticipate them, either one, if not both of them, getting more?
um, I believe both of them will get more. I think Larson will get far more than what Bell will get, but I don't know about far more, but I think Larson has better consistency than what Bell has had, even though he finished second this weekend at Kansas. But I think both of them will get more wins, but Larson will be the more dominant car and pick up maybe a couple more than Bell will.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Do you think Larson ends up being the regular season champ?
Um, he would be my pick to win the regular season. Yes, considering how he's Bristol, and when he's on and he wins, gets max stage points, max points winning the race, and so on and so forth. So that's my favorite to win the regular season championship.
Yeah, stage points are so important. Speaking of that, who has won the most stages this year?
Well, we just talked about him, Kyle Larson. He has eight. I think the next guy only had three, so I think that was
Yeah,
William Byron. So
I was going to ask who was next on the list and how many they had. So Larson's really cleaning up the stages this year, and that's got to be huge in giving him that advantage of being the regular season champion.
yeah, and it's racking up bonus points too, because you know 8 stages is almost, or 8 stage points that he's earned with that too is like a race and a half. You know, you get 5 points for winning a race, but he's also got the 8 points for stage points. So it's almost as if he won another race for bonus points, I should say. So
That's a good point.
he has what 24 bonus points already, I think. Not including what he'll get if he wins the regular season championship. Plus, I assume he'll get more race wins and stage points. So,
Yeah. What do you think the number is for Larson for regular season wins before the playoffs?
I'll say 5 or 6. Uh,
Wow.
I
Now,
mean,
the year that he won the championship, he won 10 races that year, I think.
yeah, that was in the Gen 6 car. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so assuming that he has to win races in the playoffs in order to win the championship, you would be saying that he could break the 10 win mark this year.
I think he'll come close on it. I don't know if he'll get race 10 races, but I just feel that I don't have the schedule in front of me, but it just I imagine I mean, we're halfway through the regular season. I just kind of look at the trend as it goes on that he'll get a couple more. I think he'll be strong at Charlotte, especially if he makes it back from Indy. Um, uh, but I'm trying to remember what else mile and a halfs that are out
So,
there.
so let me do this. I got two questions. One, will Kyle Larson have over or under 9.5 wins?
I'll say under.
Okay. Um, I've got the schedule in front of me. I want you to tell me if you think Kyle Larson could win this race. Charlotte,
Yes.
Nashville,
Yeah.
Michigan,
I could see him winning here too.
Mexico City.
um, that one's hard to judge because it's kind of a new track. There are drivers that have ran on it. He may have run it in an Xfinity Series at some point, and I don't know. But um, He'll be good at road courses, but that one I'm not so sure about.
Pocono,
Yeah, he can win at Pocono.
Atlanta,
Anybody can win Atlanta.
Chicago Street.
I haven't really remember him running up front at Chicago, so I don't that one I'm not too uh keen on, I guess.
Sonoma,
Yeah, he's strong at Sonoma.
Dover,
Yeah, he's strong at Dover.
Indy,
Yeah, he won last year, so
Iowa,
Iowa. I think I got Iowa confused with
Nashville.
Nash. Oh wait, Nashville. Oh, you said Nashville. Yeah, he's won at Nashville before, I think so. Yeah, Iowa. Yes.
Okay. Watkins Glen,
Uh, yeah, he's won there. So,
Richmond,
hmm, I don't, I can't remember him running well there. So, um, I feel like he could probably win it just about anywhere we're talking about. So,
and the last one's Daytona.
um, I mean, restrictor plates are his worst track, but I mean, he did well at Talladega. So, but yeah, anybody can win at Daytona. So,
So minus a couple oddball road courses, you really think that Kyle Larson could win almost every week?
yeah,
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I think that's a fair statement. I think that he is that good right now. I think that the five team as a whole is really good right now, and it's going to be pretty difficult to beat those guys for the regular season championship. It's not like last year where I think that, Denny Hamlin was really close to him, and even Christopher Bell, I don't think is like really close to him to compete with him right now for that regular season championship. I think that it's literally Kyle Larson all the way. And in the playoffs, anything can happen. But I think that if you ask me right now, gun to my head, Kyle Larson's a regular season champion. Um, okay, so kind of finishing up our notable point scores. Who has the best average running slash finishing position this year
um, I didn't find the running position, but the finishing position was definitely Kyle Larson.
by a
Um,
lot?
9.8. I remember Chase. I don't have the stats pulled up. Chase was at 11, so there's a few drivers within the 9 to 11 range. Chase was fourth, I think, in that line at like 11.8 or something like that. So within a couple of positions, the top four were, anyways. So
Okay,
it's not as outlandish as you might think it might be the way he's been running, but
that's fair.
leading a lot of laps and probably makes it seem like he's more dominant than what the finishes might show. So
Yeah, even the race at Kansas, like he won the race, but he wasn't dominant in that race necessarily. Like at the end of every run, he other drivers were catching him.
right,
And yes, he led a lot of laps, but he wasn't necessarily the most dominant race car, if that even makes sense. But I think you understand what I'm trying to say.
yeah.
Um, and then the other one is the fastest lap award. Uh, that can be manipulated a little bit, but who's got the most fastest lap awards?
It's Michael McDowell. I'm pretty sure they even talked about it at Atlanta or Daytona, Talladega, him laying back and getting that fast lap on purpose. He'll lay back and use the draft to get that fast lap. I'd have to go back and see if those are the three tracks that he did it at, but I remember them talking about it at Talladega for sure. So I think they did that on purpose, just kind of at the drafting tracks to try and get that fastest lap.
Yeah. Um, so that kind of wraps up our notable point scores. I appreciate you putting those stats together so that we have kind of a picture of who it's going to be for the season. I would have guessed that Kyle Larson led most of those categories. I would have guessed for the fastest laps, it would have also been Kyle Larson or AJ Allmendinger or Michael McDowell. McDowell was on the list of people that I thought could have the most fastest laps. So it'll be interesting to see who wins the majority of those as the season winds down.
Yeah, McDowell had three, Larson had two, and I think AJ had one.
Mm,
I don't remember anymore after that.
okay. Um, just to kind of wrap this up, I want to talk about our favorite drivers and where they're at this year so far and where I think that they could end up. Joey Logano, the Daytona 500, he finished 35th. Coda was 24th. Phoenix 13th, Vegas 15th, Miami 14th, Martinsville 8th. This is his first single digit finish of the year, his first top 10. Darlington 13th, Bristol 24th, Talladega 39th, won Texas, and finished ninth at Kansas. And in spite of all that, uh, he is still, let me see, Joey Logano is ninth in points. Um, I guess the question becomes, do I think that Joey Logano can compete for a fourth championship and go back to back? The answer is yes, I do. And it's not based on how he's performing right now because his performance isn't that great. He's only got one win. And he still was able to, I don't want to say stole that win, but he definitely wasn't the highest performing car on the day. His week or his finishes every week aren't great, but he's still managing to hang on to ninth in the points right now. Do I think that he could win the championship? Absolutely, just because that's what this team seems to do. In the same way that Kyle Larson's team, like you just said, when they're on, they're on. Well, when the playoffs roll around and the 22 team needs to advance rounds and then go to Phoenix and compete for that championship, they just find a way to do it. There's nothing about their season so far that makes me go, oh yeah, the 22 team would be the champion. But I think that that possibility still exists just because I've seen them do it before, and at least two other years, especially last year. And I don't love that that's the way that the sport works, but as a Joey Logano fan, I love the fact that there's still hope to see him hoisting that trophy in November. What do you think about Chase Elliott?
Well, I don't have his finishes up. Um, but it seems like if he starts up front, he runs up front. If he gets stuck back in traffic, he runs back in traffic. Obviously, he's fourth in points, top four average finish. I had better hopes of how he'd be performing this year, although you could argue he had a chance to win at Kansas and a bad pit stop ruined that chance. He was pulling away from Larson, although uh, Brad Keselowski was catching him there at that point, but we all know how that turned out. So,
Yeah.
um, if Chase Elliott starts top 10, he usually can work his way up to the front. So that's kind of what I'm expecting for him. Um, I just I feel so conflicted on how he'll run the rest of the year, just because I had high hopes after the Clash, and then of course I was getting down on his season, how he was running after what race was at Texas. We
Yeah.
were calling for the crew chief and stuff, and then he obviously, and all of a sudden he had one of the fastest cars at Kansas. So
Yeah.
it's just kind of been an up and down with him throughout a race, you should say. And then he pops up near the top 10, gets his points in. So obviously he's in a Hendrick car. If they find it, he can compete for a championship. But I'm just kind of almost just getting myself prepared for like a round of 8 exit. It's
Wow.
that's kind of how I feel, how it's gone so far. But obviously, things could change. But if I do it based off of Kansas, obviously, I think he could win a championship if he can bring back that Kansas car. Um, hopefully the Kansas race was the start of something better for the rest of the year.
Okay. Two questions then. One, when you say round of eight exit, do you mean that he'll make the round of eight and then won't make the final four?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you consider that a successful season for the nine?
Um, I think a Final Four is a successful season. I mean, but with the way the playoffs and stuff start this year, I think round of 8 is fairly successful. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm not arguing with you. I just don't know what how do you measure that? Like, I guess if Kyle Larson won 10 races this year and then didn't make the final four, I'd go, that guy had a good year. So I don't necessarily count the final four as being like the measure of a good season solely. Like if you didn't make the final four, you didn't have a good year. I'm not saying that at all. Um, I think that if you made the final four, you had a really good year. But I also think you could win 10 races and, like you said, exit the round of eight and still say we had a really good year this year.
Yeah.
So I think that race wins mean a lot, mean a ton. And when it comes to the playoffs, it's such a disaster of how these things are compiled and how it works. And uh, like we could spend another entire show just talking about how much I hate the playoffs and how they work. I don't necessarily hate a postseason for NASCAR, but I don't like this setup that we got. Um, I think that if I were just like I said before with Joey Logano, I think he could absolutely win another championship. But even last year, he was the champion, and I wouldn't say that he had a great year. Although I think he ended up with 4 wins on the year, which was second most. Um, both the two of those 4 wins were in the playoffs. One of them was with 187 restarts at was it Nashville,
Yeah.
and ended up with that first win. Yeah, I certainly think that Logano has an opportunity to win a championship, but I think that Elliott has the potential to have a better season as a whole, if that all makes sense.
Yeah.
Anything else that you wanted to talk about ahead of North Wilkesboro?
That's all I've got.
Okay, I got one more thing that I want to say, and it's to the France family, it's to the governing body of NASCAR, it's to whoever makes the rules. If you could tell me just you focus on one thing, I will give you the magic wand. I will give you the keys to the Cup Series. You can fix one thing and one thing only that you have a problem with. I would say fix this race car. It is bad. I don't think there is fixing this race car. I think you've got to scrap this race car and build a new race car, or go back in your files to 2004 and rebuild that race car because that provided us the racing that we were looking for. You had a chassis that was up off the ground. You had body panels that didn't touch the ground. You didn't have some of the other stuff that keeps that car just glued down to the racetrack. You had a lot of horsepower, and you didn't have a big old fat wide tire, and you had rubber that wore away on those tires. And people are relating those to that. Oh, that's a Goodyear issue. You can't, that's not part of the deal. You don't get to make that change. Fine. Whatever. I'm fine with the rubber compound that we have. You got to give us a better race car. You have to. And everybody that says, well, the casual fan, who cares about the casual fan? Who cares about the person that's flipping through the channels and going, "Oh, I think I might, stay tuned on this NASCAR race for a while." Why don't you just make a product that is good racing, that people that enjoy racing like you and I can tune into and go, this is great. This is why I watch every week. Because right now I sit in front of my TV on a Sunday afternoon and look and go, I don't know why I'm doing this. Like if we weren't doing this podcast, I don't know if I would watch the entire race. I might just tune into the third stage and that would be it. And it, it's so frustrating. It's disappointing. Just please fix the race car. That's all I want.